Off top, lots of players who played in the game, especially Bubba Smith, believe that Super Bowl III was rigged. Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. They think that the owner of the team was either gambling on it, or the other conspiracy is that was recently after the AFL-NFL merger, and the NFL had been blowing out the AFL, and so some players believe that the game was rigged in order to make the AFL seem like it was better than it was, so that they could make more money in the long run. I'm Domonique Foxworth. There's Charlie Kravitz. What's up, bud?
I was cutting you off. A league would never do that. They would never rig anything for the entertainment of the fans to make more money. Should we talk about how we're the toughest podcast on the internet?
We can. The funny thing is, I think the this particular off top kind of ties into like a couple of things, including like imbalance of conferences and also the conspiracy theories that we enjoy to discuss. But yeah, let's talk about how we're the toughest podcast. I mean, I don't consider myself all that tough. It's like I just got some real serious. We had a conversation about this before, about how intense my white blood cells are. They don't play no games, and so I got strep throat. But I mean, I don't feel it. I just know I got it.
Yeah, I mean that makes you tough. Being like, my body's too tough to feel strep throat. I'm podcasting 4 days after surgery. I wanted to podcast on Sunday. I was like, I had serious FOMO knowing that Pablo was going to make all those dirty jokes without me being able to roll my eyes and make fun of him, and we couldn't gang up on him together. I wait 3 months at a time to gang up on Pablo with you, and he got to get off unscathed.
I told people that you were at an ice cream festival. I didn't tell him it's having surgery. I said Charlie's decided to go participate in the ice cream festival. But yeah, Charlie is a few days off of getting cut open.
For the record, any ice cream festivals that want to invite me to be a judge or have some sort of tasting opportunity, I am open.
You already got invited. You already got invited to. We got invited to our Virginia Beach ice cream buddy's house. I mean his is it called a parlor? Ice cream store, I guess.
Ice cream shop, parlor. I don't
Parlor.
know. I'm old. I love that. I mean, you do have white blood cell counts that say, man, see?
Yeah, they just in there Tommy gunning up this strep right now. I cough every now and then. My throat was a little sore when it first happened, but we had a conference call, me and all my white blood cells, and I was like, take care of this. I ain't got time for this. And they went in and they did their job.
That. So you got some respect for some powerful whites.
You know, whenever I'm in real trouble, gotta call on these powerful whites to take care of this. I feel like that's the high point of the show. I'm just gonna be chasing that the rest of the show, trying to beat that. It can't be beat.
Do you call them Cooper?
Well done. And you set up the transition. I do not call them Cooper Flagg. Yeah, these whites are much more powerful than that.
I don't know. That's a consequential white. We'll get to Cooper Flagg. I do think we should start with, look, we're taping this, full disclosure, we're taping this at about 4:30 Eastern on Tuesday, May 13th, after one of what actually might turn out to be one of the significant nights in modern NBA history. And we're going to go through all of the iterations with that, but I want to start with pushing forward the Celtics and Jayson Tatum. It's crazy. We all saw what happened at the end of Game 4 when the Knicks were up by 9 and there was a pass that got deflected and Tatum sort of lunged for the ball and his leg gave out. I mean, at the time, we didn't want to speculate too much. A lot of people are speculating it's a torn Achilles. We still have not gotten the news, which seems weird. We thought we'd get the MRI by now. All of the Twitter doctors and video evidence people seem to indicate that it could be an Achilles tear. And that's something that really changes the course of the Eastern Conference, the Celtics, beyond just this series, you know, the power balance of this league, because this is a Celtics team that we believed was built for now and the future, even as they evolve things. So where do you want to start? What was your shot with the Tatum? Your first thought with the Tatum stuff?
Now in the future is a funny thing that seems like it never quite works out, and you know how I feel about that. So I tend not to like the idea of now versus the future, but I don't think I'm ready to go there yet. I think, and this might be a short-lived conversation, but I think we owe it to the NBA playoffs to at least discuss, is it all the way over for the Celtics this season alone? Like, I think this team is obviously incredibly talented and well-rounded and has the capacity to beat the Knicks without Jayson Tatum, I would say. Can they beat them 3 times in a row without Jayson Tatum? I guess the answer is absolutely not to that.
And when you say, is it over for them completely this year? Do you mean win another game? Like rally, show some pride in Boston, win the series, or still win the title?
Yeah, I mean, I guess win the series is probably more realistic. I actually don't think, and this is a moot point because they're down 3-1, I don't think that the series would be over if this version of the Celtics was going up against the Knicks. I do think that it's not unlikely, it's close to impossible that this version of the Celtics can win 3 games in a row, no matter where they're going to be played, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So, yeah, I think the series is over. The question, I guess, is will they be able to extend it? Are they going to ride the emotions of TD Garden in Boston and get a win?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because you're saying your thought process is just that they shoot so many threes. They have so many good players. You can maybe if Porzingis was healthy and Jaylen Brown was slightly healthier and Pritchard played more, they could shoot enough threes that even without Tatum, had the series started 0-0. I actually don't even think that way. Like I know I've been like a quote unquote Tatum hater during this stuff. Obviously, they're bounced. You never want to see him get hurt. That stuff that just is brutal. It was brutal to watch him do that in a game that felt like, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say it's the best game of his career when he's won a title, when he's had 50-point playoff games and gone toe to toe with LeBron in the postseason before. But like that felt up there with the best we've ever seen Tatum as a two-way player. Mm-hmm. And they're still going to lose that game. But like, actually to me, I think without Tatum, I don't think that they would have had a chance from the series to begin with. And I'm not doing this to poo-poo the exercise because I think it's totally fair. This is a part of the reason we like Boston is there were an expertly built team and Mazzulla did bend the math in their favor so much. But losing Tatum, I think he's their best playmaker. And you actually look at the roster. I think he's their best playmaker. I do think he's their best defensive player. And Drew's at a different point of his career. Like clearly he's not, this is someone who scored 26 points in a finals game last year. Right. Like he's not an offensive player anymore. Horford's at a different stage. To me, I actually don't see unless you're really saying that like Derek White can run this offense and Jaylen Brown. Like I actually think Tatum is so important to what they do, even if he had been so erratic in this series before game 4. I think losing your best player is so disqualifying in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're right in most cases, but this team is built very differently. So this is a relevant conversation, I guess, to have because Tatum is out. But and part of the problem with constructing this argument is that Porzingis isn't healthy, Jaylen Brown isn't healthy. Like I imagine a scenario where Jaylen Brown and Porzingis are healthy. This team, I think, could compete with the Knicks. Those guys aren't healthy, and Tatum is out. So I think, and they have to win 3 in a row. So it's pretty. I think we're not breaking any news here. I think everyone recognizes that this series is pretty much over. And next round, the Knicks or most of us are looking to next round to see what the Knicks are going to do against the Pacers.
Okay, so let's push this forward a tiny bit with the Celtics then. And we can come back to the Knicks. But this is a team that's made the conference finals seemingly every year. They're built around 2 Iron Men wings who, like before this, like Tatum just didn't miss games. Since he had been drafted, he played 1,500 more minutes than anyone else in the NBA. It was this expert build around perimeter defense and shooting and all this stuff. They made a finals. They won they won a title in addition to that finals. Does this feel like they're closing the door on the Tatum Brown era if it is a torn Achilles? And by the time you're listening to this, you should know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a significant injury either way. It does not feel like they're necessarily closing the door on those 2 players. This particular run, I do feel like they're probably closing the door on the guys around them. Will they be able, like Tatum will come back in 2 seasons, I guess. He won't probably be back much of next season. But again, we don't know what the diagnosis is, so I guess I shouldn't be projecting that. But both of those guys are going to be locked up, in Boston. Will they be competitive is another question. Will they have the resources and the good fortune to be able to get the Drew Holiday? I think we forget how random some of these acquisitions and unlikely some of the acquisitions were. Like the Drew Holiday trade was a result of another trade, right? That was the Dame situation, and Porzingis was like a random situation where it didn't work in Dallas. Like those were 2 incredibly important pieces. Derek White emerging into this type of player, Al Horford being able to play as if he was ageless. Like all these things continue to happen. Are those things going to happen around them again? I guess you can hope that Stevens can pull it off again, but it seems unlikely going forward. And this is where some of the Tatum stuff gets uncomfortable to talk about, especially when he's out on injury. But this is kind of the trope that we use around quarterbacks in NFL. It's like, all right, now we can't afford to surround you with this talent anymore. Now that you're out of your rookie deal, now you got to elevate your game. And it doesn't seem like there's another level to what Tatum can do.
Yeah, for me, when I look at this, they're at a totally different stage now. Like it sucks, but like it's impossible to predict that best case scenario, he comes back like Kevin Durant and he's like almost the exact same, even though when you actually look at old videos of Durant pre-Achilles injury, he did move differently. I know this is like Durant's a top 1% recovery and he's so skilled and he's such a special offensive player that he's still able to be one of the most unstoppable scorers of all time post-Achilles injury. And we saw the 2021 playoff run where he was the best player in the world, even though Giannis won the title that year. That's, if you're looking at this, you're like, okay, maybe that's possible because Jayson Tatum's 27. By the way, 27 feels insane to have this injury. It feels like an old man injury.
It does.
But to me, it's like you have to look at this logically where, this might be it for them as a pairing. These are 2 really expensive contracts. The rest of that roster is going to be at a really different place when he comes back.
It sounds like you're arguing that they should make a move, like they should do something drastic. Is that where you're headed?
I think that I don't know what the move is. Like Jaylen Brown has the $236 million on his contract that hasn't even started. I'm not saying like, oh, you have to trade Jaylen Brown. Oh, as we're doing this, it's now official. Breaking news from Shams. Jayson Tatum underwent surgery to repair a torn Achilles tendon and has a long rehab awaiting. So now we don't even have to talk in hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Jayson Tatum is out with the torn Achilles. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. And so, yeah, I think if you're Brad Stevens, you have a real question of, are you going to try and punt on the next couple years, make a big roster moves, and try and do what the Warriors did post-injury, and I know they did it in a failed way with the Wiseman, Moody, Kuminga draft picks. I know they won a title after that, but it's not what they thought it was going to be with 2 timelines. Or the Spurs way with the Robinson injury that let them tank for Tim Duncan a year later. So do you see more parallels with this being Warriors 2.0 where, KD left and that was gone and then Clay got hurt and he was never the same and they're able to win again, or something where it's a 1 year, you take a dip, you're not using these guys and it can be sort of more Spursy?
Well, I don't know the version where you come back like the 2 examples that you pointed to were examples where they went and got some highly drafted, like high prospects. Of course, it didn't work for the Warriors and it did work for the Spurs. But there's also the situation where, or at least for the Warriors, it eventually worked because they have Steph, who is so good.
Yeah, it didn't work because of that. It worked because of Steph.
And so, like, I'm imagining a scenario for the Celtics, and the only scenario that makes sense is if you have a player who is special. Again, the Tim Duncan thing, it worked because they got Tim Duncan. These are all-time great players. Either Jayson Tatum becomes one of these all-time great players, or they get an all-time great player in the draft or free agency, something like that. That's the only way. Like, that's the only way that this works out, and it's hard to imagine a scenario where Jayson Tatum comes back and is better than he was. Maybe Jaylen Brown elevates his game and Jayson Tatum's absence. Like, I don't know how this, and I guess this is to your point.
I mean,
they're fortunate enough to be in the East, though, where it seems like the path is not going to be as challenging.
And, in next year's draft, there is a prospect who's seen as slightly above what Cooper Flagg was coming into college. And I think they probably are slightly too good to tank for him, but who knows? Maybe Brad Stevens can engineer a way where they pull down their pantsa for AJ DeBanza.
That's what it is. That's the best you could do, right?
That's what I can think. It's hard to rhyme with DeBanza.
I mean, you can rhyme with AJ. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
play for AJ.
But I don't know. But is there any world where you trade Brown? Seriously, because I don't think you can trade Tatum right now. But if you trade Brown to try and be worse next year or the next couple years and really reset the decks,
I don't. I mean, it's a hard person, probably a hard person to trade, considering how much money he's going to be owed. It'll be a difficult trade to pull off.
He's an excellent player. Teams would love to have that type of guy who's very comfortable operating with another star.
Yeah, I keep Jayson Tatum, and I'm probably a little bit. Jaylen Brown. I'm probably a little more risk averse, but like, he's a really great player. I try to continue to build around these two guys, presuming Jayson Tatum will be back close to full strength in a couple of seasons. You would make the move? I mean, I guess it's also an abstract, like, who? For what? Like, not for picks. I'm not doing it for picks.
I'm definitely, we're having the meeting.
Right.
We're having a long conversation about the team's future, and nothing is off the table. Like, first of all, I mean, the guys, with the exception of Derek White, who I think does fit those guys' timeline, and his game seems to be improving, and it's not built off this raw athleticism. He's a big guard who's excellent two ways, and his jump shots improve so much. Like, I think you imagine that Holiday, Porzingis, Horford are gone from this second thing, and you have some version of Pritchard, White, and then you figure out what you want to do with Jaylen Brown. But like, you have to have the thought of it. Like, he is an excellent player who's a debilitating contract, and like the high end of it is he was awesome in their playoff run last year. He was the Eastern Conference playoff MVP and the Finals MVP, and it sounds sacrilege to consider trading that, but it's like your timeline has just changed considerably. This is a Celtics team that we thought was going to compete for the next several years, so they could move. And Stevens, who's one of the best GMs of the 21st century, could make moves around the perimeter of the team and change some things, and there could be interchangeable pieces. They know what they want. They want threes. They want two-way players. They want guys who can play make a little bit. But that all changes when you don't have Tatum, who's a top 8, top 5 player in the year, who's an Iron Man, who's by far your best regular season player. And planning for that, like what they're planning for now has changed definitively from what they were 13 hours ago.
Yeah, but there's no way that I guess I'm having a hard time imagining a trade that would be similar to this that makes you an immediate contender.
It doesn't. This is a 2 to 3 years down the road.
Right.
Can you rebuild with picks and younger players?
Right. No, I stand by the point. Like, I mean, 2 to 3 years down the road is also pretty soon. Like, this is not picks to me. Like, this is, if you're rebuilding, it's not picks. Like, rookies don't come into this league and have that type of impact consistently on a championship team in just a couple of years. This is trade for, I guess the SGA trade is something that you would want to happen. Like, that's a similar thing, is that you trade for a young star and he grows into even better than you could imagine. I don't think that happens too often. Obviously, we saw how good SGA was, but we didn't anticipate he'd be an MVP. And they were also trading ostensibly for Kawhi. Like, that wasn't the literal trade, but that was a trade that they were making so they could do that. So you're not offering a Kawhi or a Paul George. I guess you're offering closer to a Paul George, but the Paul George value in that trade was because that was also why Kawhi was showing up. So it just seems really hard to find a way that what you're going to return is something that's going to make Jayson Tatum a champion again shortly. So I'd honestly be more likely to bet on the idea that Jaylen Brown improves in this period with some pressure on him, and then you bring back Tatum and he can get close to what he was.
Honestly, I was obviously wrong about what Jaylen Brown was going to be last year in the postseason, so I shouldn't be too definitive about this, but he's 9 years into the league. I don't see a massively higher ceiling than where he's at now. Like, he's an excellent player whose ceiling is, maybe a third-team All-NBA guy, perennial All-Star, but seeing him take the leap to be a top 10 guy would be unprecedented at this point in his career. And that's like, if that's what you're hoping for in the time off, that's to me not a realistic thing. And then you're begging the question of what are you? You're hoping that an older Jaylen Brown and then coming off injury Jayson Tatum, and it's a really big question. Like, this is a ripple effect in the East. The East was, you're looking at this, and it seemed like the Celtics conference for the foreseeable future. I know the Knicks were beating them straight up last night. No collapse, none of that. Like, Tatum played an A+ game. No one else really came along for the ride.
Until Tatum got hurt, no one would take the Knicks' future over the Celtics' future.
I mean, I was sitting there having been the Knicks defender on the show, being like, "Oh my God, they might blow a 3-1 lead to this team." It still felt like they were so clearly the best team in the Eastern Conference, and you really have no idea now. Which brings to do you feel like the NBA is having, like, I know Silver's wanted parity. Your buddy Adam, sorry, I shouldn't call him Silver. He's your good pal Adam, because you're on a first name basis with Adam. But Adam has wanted parity. Do you agree with Adam that this should be more like the NFL, that's just like the healthiest team wins?
Yeah, we had a little conversation about this on the Monday show. I like the idea that other teams can win, and it's not as clear cut as it has been in some recent years. I don't like that it's injuries that are deciding it. Like, that's one thing about football that I don't want, and even football doesn't want, is that the stars get hurt. They bend over backwards to concoct impossible to follow rules in order to protect the quarterbacks, because they know that people want to see the quarterbacks. Doesn't matter if the tackle's not there or a linebacker's missing or a safety or something. Like, that's fine. That's football. It's the game. People are going to get hurt. But in basketball, they seem to really understand the value of a star and how easy it is for us to watch a story, the story of the game, when we understand, we know who the player is and we know what journey they're on, and then we just like attach all of our feelings about that player to the team. Then it gives us like some more drama. So when we're watching Jalen Brunson, a player that we've all gotten to know a lot better in the last couple of years, when we're watching him in these games, like, you feel something different about it than you would when you just turn on like a college tournament game and you see a small guard balling out. We like recognize the journey that Jalen Brunson has been on. The same thing is true when we're watching Jayson Tatum and saying he's got to have some big step up moment. Like, that all matters for us in this game. And the more that injuries decide this stuff, we're watching Steph, like, can he pull it off one more time? Nope, he's hurt. It's not fun. I'm sure that no one, Adam, as you call him, was not looking.
Your buddy Adam, sorry.
My buddy Adam was not looking to steal that part from football for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. I mean, did it cross your mind before this that you're looking at Kings of the Eastern Conference, either Tyrese Halliburton or Jalen Brunson? Like, has that sunk into you that there's a really high, that it's incredibly likely that one of those two teams, or by the time you're listening to this, definitely one of those teams, I guess not the Celtics one, are going to be representing the East in the NBA Finals?
Yeah, I mean, it's sinking in, and I'm rooting for Jalen Brunson as it currently stands. Like, I'd love to see that story with Jalen Brunson, in with him in the finals, and New York being the center of the basketball world, at least for one NBA Finals. So yeah, it's sung, and it's not hard. It's not as hard to believe as it should be, honestly. If you look at like all of Jalen's journey, I was going through my mind trying to think of comps for Jalen Brunson earlier before we started the show, and I couldn't really find a good one. I was thinking Chauncey Billups, but he's better than Chauncey Billups ever was. I can't really think of somebody who's a small guard who was a second-round pick who is now, like, I don't know, top 5 player in the league. Is that crazy?
No, I mean, he was 5th in the MVP last year. He's made a first-team All-NBA.
Who was behind Luka? Like, that's also crazy. It feels like I told you this earlier, where it reminds me when you come across those ex-athletes who are like, I would have been great if coach would have given me a chance, or I'd have been great if it wasn't for the fact that we had this other guy. I always kind of ignore those guys, but Jalen Brunson gives them hope, because he is exactly that, where it's like you gave him the opportunity and he's as good as anybody.
It reminds me of Jimmy Butler. I know that's not a height comparison, but like Jimmy Butler was not an afterthought, but he was the role player, the nice guy who was the end of the first round pick. I know it's different in the second round. You know, you get the guaranteed contract. They want you on the roster. But he was behind Derrick Rose. He was behind Luol Deng in usage rate on that Bulls team. It was like, we were like, oh, this guy's really good. He ends up on his own team. He starts building it, and he becomes a playoff killer. And like, I'm looking at that. Look, I'm dead serious about this. I'm looking around the league right now, and I'm going to take Steph out of it because he's injured. When you're talking about guys at the end of a playoff game to get you a bucket, this is not a cliche. We saw this in that game against the Celtics. We've seen this over and over again. It's crunch time. You need someone who's going to create offense when things are really bogged up. I think you can have a real debate of if he's the first guy you'd pick to get your team a bucket at the end of a game out of isolation. I would still take Jokic, but to me, in this postseason, Brunson's been better, and than Jokic has been. It's Jokic, it's Brunson. There's a teardrop, and then it's Ant. And this is taking out Curry and Luka and guys who are eliminated. But like, to me, that's like, it is crazy that we've gotten to that point with Brunson. That's the thing that you would say about Kawhi Leonard when he was healthy. Like, oh, if he was only healthy, that's the guy you would trust to get you a bucket. That's what it was. LeBron and Curry for years. Durant was like the king of that. Like, Brunson has that mantle right now, where it's not cliche stuff. Like, the Celtics team is throwing unbelievable defenders at him, and the Knicks stumbled into that lineup with the two bigs because of OG Anunoby's hamstring, where he left for like a couple minutes in that game. And they're just a team that wasn't that great in the regular season, and they are so rugged and they're so tough. And Brunson is so physical getting to the rim with craft and his like little fire hydrant body. It's really interesting. Like, it's the same. The Pacers are an interesting one too. Like, the first half of the regular season really means so little to these NBA teams now. Like, I know Simmons and Lowe have talked. Simmons and Lowe have talked about this, that the Pacers are a different team over the last 25 games, and like, we think of them as this fast-paced finesse team. Them and the Knicks are not finesse teams. They're tough as both of those teams.
Yeah, and the toughest person on the court, it feels like at times, is Karl Anthony Towns, so a player who is like knocked for his toughness perpetually, but he's gotten in New York and gotten physical. So a couple things. You said a lot. First of all, you said it gets bogged up. I've never heard that before. Nothing ever gets bogged up.
Get bogged down.
Yeah, obviously. But I mean, you think I'm going to let you slide just because you tried to bury that mistake under a bunch more words? No, it's bogged down, not bogged up. Also, I think it's pretty cool to have Jalen Brunson. The criticism, I'm someone who like parrots that cliche about small guards, and it's really interesting to have Jalen Brunson be a small guard, and one of the reasons why you would say like you can't win the big one with small guards, with the exception of like Isaiah's the one like exception to that rule, is in part because of what he is great at. It's like you feel more comfortable with a player, a 6'7" player, 6'6" player, getting a good look at the basket on that final shot. And he right now is the best at getting, and it's never just like one final shot. It's like a series of plays, of possessions at the end of the game that he is
second half of
right, where he is just, and as the clock ticks, it just feels like he gets more and more like what he did in that Houston game. How do you get that open against what is believed to be one of the best young defenders we've ever seen in basketball? He like gets open, clean looks and comfortable shots, even though he's like 6 foot, and you feel confident. That feeling you get when the ball leaves his hands, oh yeah, that's going in. It permeates the team because I can feel it from my couch.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because this is the bigger conversation. Like, if Giannis is now available for a trade. If Giannis leaves the conference, Cooper Flagg's presumably being drafted in the West. Giannis is available for a trade. Reportedly wants to go to, is interested in the state without income tax. Hello, Texas. Hello, I guess Florida too. But it's no Giannis, no Tatum. It's Brunson's conference, and then you have like Mitchell, Halliburton, Cade. Like, Brunson is the best player in the conference, and it's flipped. It's a bunch of small guards. I mean, Cade's a 6'6" guard, and Halliburton's 6'5", but he's slight. He's not an ultra physical guard. He becomes the best player in the conference, and it's really interesting. I don't know what that says other than that the conference is, if Giannis leaves and Tatum's out and the Celtics are in a rebuild. I don't remember the conferences ever being this unbalanced. Like the East will be like, I mean, I can't imagine what the odds will be, but no one's going to take those teams seriously compared to like the bloodbath of the West.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Knicks or the Pacers would probably be the returning favorites coming in, and I don't think we were thinking about the Pacers as like I mean, they had a good run last year, but no one was thinking about them as like a real deal title contender, but they are now. Yeah, you're right. The Knicks will probably be the favorites next year, depending on how this next series goes.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? This we're getting a feel right now where this summer. I'm just like sitting up in my chair, full NBA Twitter. This summer feels a little 2016-ish. Like there could be massive moves. Like Giannis is a player who can swing the entire dynamics of a league. He's so good. He's been top 7 in MVP or top 5 in MVP voting for the last 7 years. He's like 30, 12, and 5 every single year. And it feels like the Celtics are going to make big moves. It feels like a lot of teams are on the doorstep. Like what are the Cavs going to do in the offseason? Orlando could be a piece away from thinking they're really contending. And like, I don't know. It'll be really interesting. But
where do you want Giannis to go? I think there's like a lot of possibilities. Really?
Yeah.
You want to see him and Wemby?
I want to see like the most freakish defense possible I want to see Wemby. I don't know how long or what we're going to have with Wemby. I want to see him competing for titles right now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'd love to keep Giannis in the East, I think, but I guess there aren't really real competitors. I guess the Pistons is a place like of the other teams. He's obviously not going to go over there with Halliburton, even if they had a way to make it work. I'd love to see him in Houston, which I know is not in the East, but that'd be a fun team that needs a superstar.
They have the assets to get him. I mean, if you're Giannis, would you consider like, damn, I can scam my way to the finals a bunch of times if I end up on the right team in the East?
No. I mean, I think you got to go for where you think you can win the championship, and like he wisely is trying to get as much money as possible too, which makes sense. But yeah, Houston qualifies for that income tax thing for him too. It's a Texas one, so.
Has your brain considered that like it could be like now I'm skipping a bunch into the West because like honestly, OKC, the Nuggets, the Wolves, any of those teams could be in the finals. Has it like dawned on you that the door is like wide open for like Knicks, Timberwolves in the finals? Like that is distinctly something we never would have thought of at the beginning of this playoffs. That like it could be Cat versus old team or like Ant and Brunson fighting for like.
Yeah,
this is like a wide open opportunity that's incredibly rare in the NBA that one of those dudes could end up hoisting the Larry O.B.
Yeah, that's it's definitely a
crazy
possibility. It is shocking because at around last year at the offseason we thought that the trade would make Timberwolves take a step back. Like we didn't expect the Timberwolves to be in this situation. I still don't. They still got a little ways to go because they have OKC likely or Denver, which is I know they can beat Denver. They beat Denver last year, but those are a lot. I don't know. I feel like I might lean on OKC in that matchup more than I would feel. I think I feel more confident in OKC in that matchup and probably more confident in. I think I'm just rooting for the Knicks because I'm not sure that the Knicks are better than the Pacers. I just want the Knicks to win more. Because as I start to match it up in my head the best I can, I'm not sure that the Pacers aren't better than the Knicks. But, I mean, let's not skip ahead. Like, that's going to be a cool-ass series, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Spike. Back to our childhood, or my childhood at least. You were a baby. You don't remember those.
Yeah, I don't at all. Spike going to Indy, sitting on the deck. I mean, they're going to have to bring back Mr. Halliburton. I know he's banned for the postseason. They have to bring him back to squabble with Spike Lee.
Yeah, John Halliburton and Spike Lee would be a hilarious trash-talking battle, but yeah, I mean, he's banned for life.
I will say one of the funniest things was I was watching that game, and they showed all the celebrities. It's like Chalamet and Kendall Jenner, and I mean, Chalamet was... He's on such a heater in life right now. Kylie Jenner, all the famous Knicks, everyone's courtside. And then I just noticed they just gave us a zoom in on the baseline of Ezra Edelman just being like a rabid Knicks fan. I was like, Is that Ezra or am I?
Yeah.
I can't get this wrong because I'll be racist if I do.
No. He's Jewish too, so you're safe. You're safe.
But I was right. It was Ezra.
You were right. I texted him. That was him. He was there. Seeing him yell and act all aggressive is so unlike him. It's weird.
That's why I got confused. I was like, going full Knicks, full Bing Bong.
Yeah, I'll ask him if he went and joined all the post-game festivities too, or if he just went back to be alone in Brooklyn. He probably just went home to go to bed. But
you don't think he just let out just one exhale of a Bing Bong?
I strongly doubt it. I can't imagine him Bing Bong, and I'm gonna call him and see if we can get him to Bing Bong for our show.
I love that. Okay, we have to talk about the other gigantic domino that dropped last night, which is your friend
Cooper
Adam.
Flagg.
Your friend Adam completed a false flag operation. He rigged the NBA lottery, and the Dallas Mavericks won the first overall pick with a 1.8% chance. I'm just kidding. I don't know if I believe it was rigged.
You don't want to be grouped in. You don't want to be considered a conspiracy theorist, but you kind of believe it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had to save basketball in Dallas. The fan base had quit. They were never going to come back. They were so upset at Nico. I mean, I am upset that Nico's incompetence has been rewarded. But I want to ask this. This is a huge domino. Flagg is now going to a ready-made team in a lot of ways. I know Kyrie Irving is going to miss most of next year, but they have Anthony Davis. They have a slew of good bigs in Gafford and Lively. They have Klay Thompson and PJ Washington. The Mavs claim they're taking Cooper Flagg. Mm-hmm. If you were them, would you definitely take him, or are you having the conversation? Are you considering trading Flagg for Giannis? Because that's about as good of a package as Milwaukee could get for a reset.
Yeah, I'm not trading for Giannis. I'm drafting Cooper Flagg. If they've learned nothing from this Luka situation, it's that there is some emotional value to drafting someone and watching them grow up on your roster. I think while fans would appreciate Giannis showing up, Giannis is about to start to decline, and no matter what happens, Giannis will always be Milwaukee's. You're renting him at this point, and I think the ceiling on what Cooper Flagg can be and what he could mean to that organization is something that I think would be worth drafting and investing in. So, I mean, I guess that's not consistent with what Nico wants to do, because he wants to win a championship quick to justify the decisions that he's made. But I'm not even sure that the Giannis thing makes you – I mean, it makes you competitive immediately. But
it makes you really competitive.
Well, I mean, you still need Kyrie to come back and be healthy. Yeah. I mean, you're really good on defense, which is exactly what Nico said.
And really good on offense.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm honestly like, I'm with you, but I'm slightly less with you than all the way in. Like, we haven't seen any signs of Giannis' decline yet. I know it's gonna come, but like obviously he's gonna be 31 next year, but like that has not happened yet. He is absolutely one of the most unstoppable offensive forces in the NBA on a roster that was really moribund now in Milwaukee. Anthony Davis, although he's not like a traditional offensive number one, he's a really nice offensive player. You have some shooting on the perimeter of that team. I mean, imagining a 4-5 pick and roll with Giannis and Davis is something that's no team in the NBA is really equipped to guard, period. And both guys are really talented passers and that type of stuff. Like I wouldn't be as worried about that offense. I think they'd be right there at the top of the league of like teams that could win a championship next year with Giannis if everyone is healthy. You can never bet on Davis being healthy, right? Period. But like to me, that they'd be really close, and they'd also be a team that like matching up in the postseason. Now we're in a hypothetical thing. Mm-hmm. Like no team really has an ability to match up with a Davis Giannis team in the postseason, where just the sheer amount of rim pressure is devastating.
I feel like we've gotten, if I put together all of our conversations over the course of this show about trades and no trades, I've gotten to the conclusion that you're a moves guy and I'm not a moves guy. like not just for this. I'm not saying that you're just a moves guy for the sake of moves, but you're always more interested and more, I guess, optimistic about what could be than I am, and I'm a little bit more hesitant. Like,
yeah, you played a sport. I have fantasy football brain. You played a sport. I played 2K. I could just jam a trade through.
Well, that would be a good one. It's a realistic possibility. It'd be a good one if they could do it.
We're not the same. I'm built diffy. I'm built for this GM role. No, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's just Giannis to me is like he's such a special player. Like we're talking about someone who's like he's in that top 25 players of all time, and he's so dominant. And I don't want to see the end of his career go the way it could. And so like I'm at least thinking about it for Flagg. I think it's an interesting proposition for Dallas too, because developmentally, we don't really know what the ceiling is. Like, I think he's awesome. He's incredibly complete. He still doesn't rotate the ball in his jump shot the way he was, and he looks like a. I don't want to say this negatively because like there are a lot of great players that are currently number twos. Like Anthony Davis has been number two for a long time. But currently he looks like a connector and someone who can do a bit of everything and be like the ultra high end number two. But with that said, on a Dallas team, his development's different. He doesn't have the free time to sort of around and develop and see if he can turn into that number one option, which is someone like Jayson Tatum did that. He developed into a number one option after Kyrie left. And to me, it's like, I wonder developmentally if this is the best place for him to reach his full potential. Maybe to winning, maybe I'm being really stupid and thinking about it, but that's a thought exercise I went through because it seems like just his raw usage and production is going to be more muted on Dallas than it would be on in other situations.
Yeah, and the help that they could potentially get him with the assets that they don't have going forward is going to also be challenging. So that's like not that we should engage realistically in the conversations of conspiracy, but that was the thing that jumped out to me is as we've talked about 2030. Yeah, as we've talked about, or I pointed out a bunch of times that the star, and even in this episode, that the stars in the league matter, and the chance at having an American-born white basketball player who is incredibly good is incredibly valuable for this league to have. And we don't get to know players until they're in the playoffs, and they're deep in the playoffs. And putting him on this team that doesn't have assets and has a fragile Anthony Davis and an injured Kyrie, like, I'm not sure that gets him to conference finals and gets him to the semifinals regularly enough for him to become the type of major star that he wants to become. So, like, I understand the argument that maybe that they rigged this in order to, like, reinvigorate a pissed off fan base, but I don't necessarily think that if I were running this show that is the NBA, I would not put this very interesting character in an organization that no one believes to be well run, from ownership to the health and training staff to the general manager. Like, it just doesn't feel like this is where you want to put your little gem. Like, I would have sent him to San Antonio or somewhere where I know Cooper Flagg's going to be in the prime time, and I know this place has shown a track record of developing and helping to polish up some of the stars in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I would have, if I was Adam, I would have fixed it for San Antonio too instead of Dallas. But Adam made his decision. But no, look, and the counter to that is there are a few, which is I'm now countering myself and defending your take. But that's what we do on the show. We learn. Kyrie's out. They don't have a primary playmaker. That's one of Cooper Flagg's best skills is his perimeter playmaking. And I'm wondering if he can develop on a team that's not a 25-win team patiently with some training wheels and play in big games and develop that stuff that way. That's slightly more rare, but that's how Kawhi was developed, where you play in meaningful games, you do what you're best at, and not have it all on your back. And
but how
obviously
meaningful
Kawhi was.
Are these games going to be though?
I think they could be. I mean, playoff games next year for sure. Like he elevates them from a team that was on the fringe to in the playoffs, and like they're not.
Everybody gets in.
Yeah, it's not the NBA championship, but like that's a serious. That's stakes for a rookie for sure.
Right.
And obviously he's different than Kawhi. He's drafted to be a star, not a role player. But it's worth thinking. It's certainly worth thinking about. But I gotta ask you, like, how do you think the lottery has worked? Because this has been a discussion, which is they flatten the odds, so everyone has a chance. None of the tanking teams ended up with the top 3 pick. Is this good or bad for the league? Because these moribund franchises, it hasn't really stopped tanking, but it hasn't. It's now not rewarding it.
Yeah, I mean, I never loved the lottery as a concept, but I appreciate what they're shooting for, is to encourage people not to tank, or not encourage them to tank, I guess is more accurate. But I think that we've talked about this before. The problem with this is that they're only looking to discourage people from tanking. They're not looking to encourage teams to win. And so when you have a team, which they know, when you have a team that's not going to compete, like realistically going to compete, then it's still always going to be in your best interest to not fully compete. Excuse me. So like, that's the problem to me, is that this problem will never be solved unless they completely flatten the odds and say like, all right, you either make the playoffs or you don't make the playoffs. And at which case, then the decision will be made by teams that are on the fringe that'll start losing. So you don't solve the problem unless you get to a point where you encourage them to win, which is why I proposed that like there should be revenue tied to it. It's like, if you miss the playoffs, your team doesn't get as much of the TV money revenue share as the rest of the teams. Right now, they break it down evenly or equally for everyone else. Like, that to me is the ultimate problem. Is there's no incentive to lose all of your games, but there's no incentive to get to become the 10 seed or the 8 seed or the 6 seed that doesn't really have a chance. The incentive is to fall down and give yourself the best odds. And even if in the last few years the high odds teams aren't winning, that doesn't change the fact that we know NBA teams know math now. It's why they shoot threes on fast breaks. Like, they understand the probability is not going to change. So yeah, they won't fix it until they address the fact that no one's incentivized to win.
Really stupid idea. Here, not yours. Your idea was great. Really stupid idea. I'm about to pitch you. Okay, you're a big situation defines who you are guy, and I know the Mavs have some like legitimate pieces, even though the timeline doesn't line up for Cooper Flagg in a certain way. But you got bad owner, league worst GM, coach who has been mostly bad, was good last year for the Mavs and Jason Kidd, but was really bad in Milwaukee. I know you've always wanted this. Would any part of you, if you're Cooper Flagg, be like, nah, I'm not playing there?
I love that. I would love it. I've been rooting for it to happen ever since Eli did it. Yeah, I'd love for Cooper Flagg to say, "Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to school, or you do something else." Yeah,
trade me to the East where I can scam a finals appearance next year.
He should. I mean, he's not going to. Yeah, it'll be fun to see what Cooper figures out. But he was shiny faced on the broadcast yesterday, looking all excited. He's 18 too, and you and I both like had conversations during the NCAA tournament about what we thought his ceiling was, and we kind of came to the conclusion that you presented right there. That like, maybe he's not like the number one scorer on any team, but then I forgot, like he's fucking 18.
Yeah, he's already remade his jump shot. It's distinctly possible.
Yeah, he could actually become one of the best players in basketball. And then that changes everything about the timeline. No, I mean like top of the league type of guy.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Not just like an all NBA guy, like a guy who's in MVP conversations. Like that's in the possibility. It's not probable, because it's not probable for anybody except for the King. The rest of you guys, maybe not. Wemby.
I was going to say Wemby too, but I mean, like, who knows? It's, would it be crazy if he had an Anthony Davis level career? And that was like, no, it's like, to me, that's awesome. Probably what I think about what his career is going to be like as a player, which like, it could be better. If it's better, then you are an MVP candidate. If it's slightly worse, you're still an all NBA guy.
Get him in the bubble. He won't be able to miss. We're going to have are you predicting another pandemic?
No more panties.
In 8 years?
No more panties. By the way, I just want to mention, life's great as a Wizards fan. 6-pick, baby. We're so irrelevant, like hauntingly so.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to hype myself up. I don't like. Just get me a Derek Queen, Alex Sarr front court. Let him cook.
Yeah, Derek Queen, Keep him home, Maryland guy. What was the probability for you guys to be top 4? Because this year it's like Cooper
14% was the first pick. I'm not sure it was higher for the top 4, but it was 14% for the first pick.
Because as I understood it, like this was a 4-player draft, right? It's like Cooper and 3 other guys that are worth.
Yeah, Harper, Bailey, and Edgecombe. Yeah.
And you guys got 6. I mean, us. I live in D.C. too. I should be.
We were one lottery ball from getting the top pick, the final lottery ball, which also happened in the Wemby draft.
Don't worry, we got Jaden, baby. We got Jaden.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, we got Jesus Daniels. All right, Charlie. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks to all the great producers. Shout out to our immune systems for being awesome. And we out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.